good to know the offensive line is trying to block for the quarterback this time around. And it's easier to block for the quarterback in practice when Chris Jones isn't there. So, look, Chris Jones isn't there. And who knows when he's going to be there. We touched on this yesterday because Chris Jones had responded to someone who had pointed out on Twitter and asked the question on Twitter when you're going to be there, and he said week 8. And week 8 is very simple. I don't want to get into the complicated aspects of the CBA, but week 8 is when you need to show up to get credit for the contract year and push your way to free agency. If you wait any longer than that, you may not get enough weeks in. They can put you on a roster exempt list for 3 weeks and just screw it all up. Week 8 is the magic number to get there, to check the box on the contract year and set yourself up for free agency or the franchise tag in 2024. That's why he said week 8, and that's where we are now. You know, I thought they would land this plane. I thought they would recognize a week or so before the start of the season, now's the time to go to our bottom line position. It could be when they both go to their bottom line position, Chris, they still don't overlap. They still don't meet somewhere in the middle. And Jones, at least based upon what he tweeted or posted on social media, what he posted on X, whatever the hell it's called, it sounds like he's willing to. But in order to get your best deal, you have to create the impression for the other side that you are willing to take that kind of a stand.
Yeah, that kind of a stand, that much money, $50,000 a day, like, great Scots, Batman, holy cow. But like, it's official. It's official, I will say that. It's time to start worrying about it. You know, we've hit that threshold of, like, wait, Chris Jones? Yeah, I'm starting to get a little worried. Nick Bosa's not in with the 49ers camp? This is the time of the year where the coaches are starting to go, wait, hey, we got a real game in 2 weeks. Like, I know we've been working in training camp, but okay, hey, front office, it's time to get the deals done and get the freaking players out here. And, you know, hey, the 49ers, they got an all-star defense. We know that. They got a ton of D linemen and all that. The Chiefs, it's a little different. They're an offensive football team. That's what they're built around. They have a lot of money on that side of the ball and assets. Chris Jones is one of the few blue chippers that we talk about on the front seven of this defense. They don't have any guys on that defensive line as of right now where you go, ooh, we got a game plan for him or watch out how we do, other than Chris Jones. So I worry about that situation, you know, much more than Nick Bosa. And then especially when you got the Lions coming to town in week 1, the Lions can run the ball on everybody. They ran the ball on everybody last year. They got one of the better offensive lines in football, to where I would be worried about Kansas City's defense in that matchup if they did not have Chris Jones out there on a consistent basis.
You're absolutely right. And this isn't like Tyreek Hill where, oh, yeah, we can just move on from him and everything will be fine.
No, right.
No, you don't have anyone else who can do what Chris Jones does. So Andy Reid was asked yesterday about this situation, given that Chris Jones has said he'll show up week 8. Specific question for Andy Reid: do you expect to start the season without Chris Jones, given where things stand right now?
There's been no communication, so I don't know what's going to go there. But whatever happens, happens. I mean, not there, the game goes on, right? So that's how it works. So
you used to do the GM stuff too. I know you've said you kind of like not being a part of that. But as someone who's a head coach and been here for as long as you have, you know Chris so well, is there a way for you to get involved with this, or you just?
No, not right now. There's not. Yeah. So they got to communicate and do their thing, and there's just been no communication. So.
Now, that should not be as alarming as some would think, because there's no reason for communication until we get to midnight. The key is understanding mutually, both sides, when the clock strikes 12. That's when you accelerate the communication, and that's when you move towards your bottom line. Because in any negotiation, if you move towards your bottom line prematurely, you will get squeezed off of it when the clock strikes midnight. So for me, it's a week from now. It's when the Chiefs begin their practice week in advance of the Lions game. That's when the clock strikes 12. That's when you communicate. You communicate a day or two in advance of that. Somebody's got to make the first move, and there's all sorts of weird head game stuff like, oh, I made the first call. I'm more anxious to do the deal than the other side is. Weird stuff comes into play here. But at the end of the day, Chris, the question is, will they reach an agreement? Can they find a consensus between 22.5 and 31.6? That's the gap between that cluster of guys, they're all around 22.5. Quinnen Williams, Deron Payne, Jeffrey Simmons.
Right.
I'm forgetting one. There's like 4 of them that all got paid in that cluster
Dexter
at
Lawrence.
22.5.
Yeah.
Dexter Lawrence, and then you got Aaron Donald at 31.6. And Chris Jones wants to be closer to Aaron Donald.
He's
And
got
he
to pass
probably
up
wants
the
30
other
million
guys,
a year.
right? That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, he's got to get between 25 and 30.
Right.
Maybe if he says he wants 30, maybe he'll take 28.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the Chief, we'll see. We'll see. There's no reason to talk until we get to midnight, and midnight is coming, and we'll find out whether or not they can get there. That Quinnen Williams 24, that's not real. It's all in the range of 22.5 to 23.5. That Quinnen Williams one is inflated just to get him a little bit above the others. They always put some Fugazi stuff in the back end to do that. They're all, as a practical matter, in the range of 22.5 to 23.5 million.
Yeah, and he deserves to be, above that group, above everybody except for Aaron Donald, right? For the way he's played, he's like we've talked about a lot. For the last few years, for a while now, he's been one of the 3 best defensive tackles in football. Last year was the first one we thought he was the best, right? So yeah, this is a big moment, and as far as their defense, where it's at, you're right. It's coming to the absolute pinnacle here of when you got to get it done. And I worry about, like, where you're right. You set the barrier or the line right as far as 12 o'clock midnight when they can get a contract done. I also just go, damn, this is a D tackle that weighs 335 pounds. Like, if we wait to the last possible second and he only has like 7 days to get ready for the Lions, he ain't going to be Chris Jones that we saw in the Super Bowl or in the AFC Championship game either. And, so right now I look at it and go, Kansas City's defense is not going to be at full strength against the Detroit Lions and be as dominant or as good as it possibly can be. A lot of good there, don't get me wrong, but I think that's just going to put more pressure on Mahomes and the offense to score points against the Lions.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And look, even if he shows up in time for week 1 and they play him in week 1, how effective is he going to be? Same questions apply to the 49ers and Nick Bosa, who continues to be holding out 2.5 weeks from the 49ers' first game at Pittsburgh. Here's Patrick Mahomes when he was asked about whether he expects to start the season without Chris Jones on the field.
I know that stuff, contract stuff, is hard to talk about because everybody wants to make money for their entire family and everything like that. But I know how much Chris loves the Chiefs. He loves being a part of this organization. And so I just try to stay out of it and just tell Chris that I love him and that whenever he does come back, he'll be welcomed with open arms. And we know that he's preparing himself so that whenever he does get back, he can be that dominant player that he always has been. Yeah, we stay in contact with him all the time. I mean, he's in good spirits. I mean, he's a guy that he loves football. Like I said, he loves playing for the Chiefs. And so it's a hard time for all players, I think, whenever this stuff comes up. Because you want to play, you want to be out there, but at the same time you want to take care of your family. So it's finding that right spot and where you think you need to be at that time. And so it doesn't hurt. Like I said, it doesn't hurt his relationship with any of us. I mean, we respect his decision. But at the same time, whenever he comes back, we'll welcome with open arms and know that he's going to be a pivotal teammate to help us try to make a run at the Super Bowl again.
And look, it's more than taking care of your family. It's getting fair value for the sacrifices you're making. It's making sure that someone else isn't benefiting from shortening your lifespan or ensuring that your later years will be filled with more agony and discomfort than they ordinarily would be because you can't walk from all the hits you took playing football. It's not just taking care of your family. It's about being treated fairly and properly by this game that sucks so much of the money to those who never step on the field. That's what it's about. Because it's easy to say he's got enough to take care of his family.
No, well, that goes back to our tweet.
There's a subtle pejorative in there when you say you got to take care of your family because you don't need to take care of your family unless you got a hell of a lot of kids. You don't need $30 million a year to take care of your family. But it all comes down to what you're going to do to treat a guy fairly and what he's going to do to ensure he forces the team to treat him fairly. Clark Hunt never gets criticized. Never gets scrutinized. Nice guy, mild-mannered. Who do you think's calling the shots on these deals at the end of the day? Who do you think? Who do you think's got the finger on the change purse? It ain't Andy Reid. At the end of the day, the money guy is the guy who's paying the money. And if they wanted to get this done right now, Clark Hunt could get it done right now. But I think Clark Hunt likes having this collection of superstars who are content to just make enough to take care of their family, who are happy to be underpaid. You got Travis Kelce at $14 million a year. Are you kidding me? And he's happy at $14 million a year? Every once in a while, he's like, maybe I'm getting screwed here. We're winning championships. Who cares? And you got Mahomes at 45 when Justin Herbert's at 52.5. And who knows where Joe Burrow is going to be. And the market's going to keep going. And Mahomes is just happy. He's got this giant house now, and he's making all this marketing money, and he doesn't seem to care. So I think that the team wants to parlay that into as many guys as possible who act the same way. And Chris Jones isn't willing to act that way, and I don't think they know what to do about it.
No, right. And he shouldn't act that way. Patrick Mahomes has got another 12, 13 years left in his career if he wants. Travis Kelce, he's a tight end. He's had a long career already. He's still got a lot of years in front of him too here, right? So defensive tackle position Chris Jones plays? No, this will be the last significant contract. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, I think you're right. They're hoping that, the pressure of, hey, we won the Super Bowl, or Clark Hunt is hoping that, and look at our other stars, and they're hoping, can we bring up the tweet again, right? They're hoping that sentiment there, that stupid sentiment that's sent out by fan bases at times, you're under contract. Well, hey, guy, Sean Berkey, then tweet at every team when they cut a guy that is under contract. How dare they do that? Be quiet with this crap, guys. I'm just sick of fans saying this stuff. How much money do you need? It's about what you're worth. You're not a doctor. You can't do this forever. He's got a short period of time, and like you said, there's a good chance when he's in his 50s, he won't be able to walk or have a hip problem or have a bunch of other problems to go along with it. So, yeah, they're playing that angle there, and they're playing hardball, and it might cost them a chance to win another Super Bowl with the way the AFC is laid out this year.
From time to time, I'll make the point that fans line up behind the billionaires instead of the millionaires. They resent the players. There may be some deeper societal issues at play, but at the surface, and I think the easiest explanation is everyone is acting out in their own self-interest, and fans just want the players there. They don't care how much money they're making. They don't care if they want more. They just want them there. Chiefs fans want Chris Jones there, and I think at some level, even though Patrick Mahomes said all the right things, you think he's not pissed off Chris Jones isn't there? He wants to win another championship.
Of course.
Having Chris Jones there makes it more likely that he wins another championship. Having Chris Jones not there makes it harder for him to win that championship. He's trying to catch Tom Brady. Hell yes, he wants Chris Jones there. So everyone is acting out in their own self-interest. And Chris Jones' interest is get paid while you can, because this is your last opportunity to do it, because you're not going to play until you're 40. You got to get paid now. And that's what he's trying to do. And yes, he has a contract, but remember, there's another contract. Beyond the one he signed with the Chiefs, there's a contract between the league and the union that allows him to hold out, that allows him to withhold services. If he's willing to pay the $50,000 a day, if he's willing to forego the game checks, under the terms of that broader contract, he can show up week 8, satisfy his contract, and get himself toward free agency. And then next year, they could franchise tag him, and he could do it again. And he would have no financial exposure because he wouldn't be under contract. So he's got every right to take advantage of that other contract that all players and all teams are party to, Chris.
Yeah, no, I know. This is his right. We'll see where it goes. It's still one where, again, I wish he would have done it and held in. I get what he's doing there. I honestly think we're in the day and age where there's more pressure on the team when you hold in. You got to see that guy every day. I don't know. I know, you're right. You could probably make an argument for the other side too. But it makes it uncomfortable. Yeah. And we've seen a lot of teams with the hold-in. They buckle, it seems like, more times than not. You got to look at the guy in the eye every day. It starts to filter into the locker room like we talk about. Right now, you just got to answer at the podium, and then you walk in the locker room, and he's not there. He's not there bad-mouthing the organization or going, hey, look, they're ripping me off. They're going to rip you off, do all that. That's where I'm in favor of the hold-in, let alone I'm in favor of the players keeping $50,000 a day.
The only problem with that, though, is, now, first of all, if the teams had no problem with holdout, they wouldn't have rigged it so it's $50,000 a day if you're on your second contract and it can't be waived. But I just think that with the hold-in, you get to a natural point where it's time to go play, like we saw with Roquan Smith and the Bears last year. The hold-in only works if the team is committed to eventually do a deal. If they dig in at 24 or 25, and I'm sorry we're not giving you any more than that, what's Chris Jones going to do? I'm here. I can't leave. Once you're there, it's so much harder under the CBA to leave. The key is to never show up, just like Jonathan Taylor should have done. Don't show up. That's the key. We're going to talk about Jonathan Taylor coming up, the supposed deadline on doing a deal. But before we go, apparently Chris Jones retweeted a Photoshop of fat Chris Jones. I guess this is a when you're not if you show up without going to training camp in the preseason, that's what you get. And he retweeted that, so he was having a little fun with it. But I think when he shows up, he'll be good to go, and he'll be motivated, and he'll be driven, and he'll play with reckless abandon because he will have gotten the contract that he wants if he ever gets it. All right, we'll talk Jonathan Taylor next here on this Thursday edition of PFT Live. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.